Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get underway, I'd like to take care of a few administrative matters. First, in the event of a fire, the fire exit is located to your left. If in the event of a fire, there will be an announcement. Please do not use the elevators. Use either the north or the south staircases to exit the building. Our meetings are being recorded by our Secretary, Michelle, for the purpose of making a record, not as a transcript. But when you come to the podium, please identify yourself with your name and your address each time that you come to the podium. We will follow the items in the order that they appear on our agenda. Extra copies of the agenda are available on the table just inside the door. After the case has been called, the applicant will come to the podium or their representative, identify himself or herself, state their address, then be sworn, and then present their case. During their presentation, the members of the board will have an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have, and at the conclusion of the applicant's presentation and any questions by the board, we will open the matter to public input. First, we'll call upon those who wish to speak in favor of the application. Then we'll call on those who wish to speak in opposition to the application. And then we'll allow those who just wish to speak to the application, neither for nor against, or aren't sure what their position with respect to it might be. Once all the public input has been completed, the applicant and their representative will be allowed to respond to anything that came up during the public input portion. And once that's concluded, we'll close the hearing and continue on to the next case. After all the cases have been heard, the board will take a short recess and then return to deliberate the cases in the order of the applicants who are still present. No further input is allowed during this portion of the meeting, but you're welcome to stay and listen to the deliberation, or if you'd like to leave, you can possibly catch it still on TV at home, or you can call the Planning and Zoning Department tomorrow morning or any other day, and they'll be glad to tell you what the decision was with respect to the case. Having said that, I think we can call our first case for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item on the agenda is case number ZB1402-1. Upon the matter of request by Felicita Draper for an area variance to maintain a satellite dish in the front yard pursuant to Section 235.127.d of the Town of Arundequoit Code on premises 498 Pert Avenue in an R3 residential district.
Grab the handhold.
We have one of these.
Felicita Draper, 498 Port Avenue.
Okay, if you can raise your right hand, whoever's going to be offering any testimony.
Be both of us. My name is Karen Draper. I live at 498 Pert Avenue.
Okay, do you each swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Stumbling on that.
No, we gave up cable because it was too expensive for us.
Is the microphone on? There we go.
Make sure you
Okay.
speak right into it, okay,
Okay.
please? Thank you.
That the cable was too much, so we went to Dish, and which was much better expensive for us. We did not know at the time that it couldn't go where it is, where they put it in which is technically my backyard, but it's the front yard by the street, because our house is reversed. And I don't know, we put a Christmas tree in front of it to show you how we're going to landscape it, so that it can't be seen. Our neighbors didn't even know it was there, and they don't have any problem with it.
And we do have letters from both neighbors from both sides, plus a couple houses down stating that they have absolutely no problem with the satellite dish in the yard.
If you could hand them over and So the Dish Satellite folks put it in?
Yeah, what happened was, is what we call DirecTV, and DirecTV spent over an hour on the property trying to find it. They were on the roof, they were in the backyard. The problem what we have with our house where it sits is, the neighbors have giant trees, the neighbors further down have giant trees, and the town owns a giant water tower that blocks our way if it sits on the roof to us, because of the
won't
way
move
the
it.
angle was.
Town's
So-
not willing to move the water tower?
We
All right.
figured that. The trees, they couldn't move, they're over 100 years old. They tried going down the bay direction, but with all the swamp area and all those trees, they couldn't get a dish there. So Direct said, no, they couldn't do it. Dish came out, they spent another hour. They even wanted to they were even willing to try to put the dish on the property next to us, which belongs to my brother at 504. But they had concerns about running the wire across the driveway, because there's a driveway that we own 4 feet, my brother owns 4 feet. But they were a little weary about running wires across that because of the house that sits behind there. We were walking around, and we actually, where the satellite is now, they were actually able to get a signal. And I said, well, can it go here? I was under the impression, since they put satellites in, that they knew where they could and couldn't go. He goes, yeah, we could stick it here. I said, well, this would be great. It's behind the bush, it's hidden and all that. We did not know about that until someone came up the next day. The new neighbor next door said, yeah, someone stopped us, asked about whether it was our satellite or yours. And I said, oh, well, and of course, we got the letter in the mail the same day. So we called Dish. They were supposed to send a letter, but every time we called up, we got someone in a foreign country, it seemed like, to have them send the letter out to us. They kept saying, it's coming, they're coming. But that is the only spot where they can actually get a signal. In fact, they're not even sure come spring if it'll even work there with the tree when the tree blooms. They're a little concerned. We might actually have to trim that tree back in order to get a good signal. So we were able to, we were willing to put up the bush. I did stick our Christmas tree, because we always get a big one, in front of it, just so that you could see that we can get bushes there. And the way, if you come down our street, where the Christensen lives, their bushes actually hide it, and the tree in 492 hides it when you come down the road. As you come down 590 and you turn around this way, that would be where our new bushes would hide it, and it actually hides it where the one bush is existing now, hides it right now. So it doesn't stick out. None of the neighbors didn't even know it was there until we pointed it out. They're like, you guys have a dish in the front yard? We said yes, and none of them actually minded at all that it wasn't an issue. So that's where we came here, and we're hoping that we can keep it.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I do. It's about 4 foot in diameter, is that right?
I believe so. I'd never measured the actual dish, but it's about this.
That's it.
Yeah.
And does it sit right on the ground, or is it up?
It's on a pole, sits up in the air, on a pole, I would say maybe about this high, maybe.
Oh, it's not really high then?
No, it's not really high at all, and it sits about 3 feet from the property line, from our neighbor's property. We've got the new neighbors. It's hidden, and we're willing to hide it some more. Unfortunately, the way our house sits so far back that we can't put it anywhere else.
Okay, I just wondered about that, thanks.
Okay.
The one point I had, when I went by on Sunday,
Yeah.
the sign was back up against the garage door.
Yeah, here's what happened. The ground was so frozen, we put one out, it blew away. We called Donna on Monday. She actually came out and got us a new one. We tried to put it out by the lilac bush, but that one blew out. We tried to put it in a snow blink, that blew, because we live at with 590 there. We get that north wind and just whoosh. So the only thing we could do was staple it to the garage so that it would stay there.
Apparently Mother Nature's not aware of our preference to have it put in the ground.
We actually have bad snow drifts right there, so,
All right, we'll have to have a word with her at some point.
yeah.
All right. Okay, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Andrew Draper, 504. I live next door, and You know, I really didn't even know they were getting the dish. When I came home after it was up, I didn't even notice it until someone pointed it out to me. And I lived there most of my life, so. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Does anyone wish to say something with respect to the application, neither for nor against? All right, and we'll close that case and move on to the next case.
Items for board action is a tabled item. It's case number ZB 1311-4, request by Margaret and Melissa Gorniak for use in area variances to convert a single-family dwelling with office into a two-family dwelling with less than required lot size for a two-family dwelling on premises 1720 Portland Avenue in an R1 residential and C commercial district.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Margaret Gorniak, 1556 Bayshore Boulevard.
Melissa Gorniak, 1556 Bayshore Boulevard.
You could raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Am I reading?
Now, we heard this case in November, and
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair? We
Yes.
need a motion to remove it from the table first, please.
oh, thank you. Yes. Is there a motion to remove this case from the table?
Make a motion to remove this case from the table.
All right.
Second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, 6 votes in favor and no opposed, no abstentions. One member yet to be named.
Okay, so Melissa's going to read the introductory letter just to bring up all the information that we said before while we were requesting, and then I have additional information, additional exhibits that I can present it to the board after.
And my recollection is that the house itself is split between 2 zoning districts.
Right, and we have all the information to show to the board.
Okay.
I am here to request a use variance and area variance to convert 1720 Portland Avenue into a legal two-family dwelling. This property is currently zoned as a single-family with commercial space. This property is unique in the fact that the front of the property is zoned residential and the back half of the property is zoned commercial. However, the interior is already set up and looks like a two-family unit. This property's immediate surroundings are a bakery on one side, 2 multifamily homes to the north, and a funeral home directly across from the street. It is located approximately 150 feet from East Ridge Road, which is all zone commercial. All the buildings surrounding this property are either zone commercial or multifamily. Because the back half of my property is zone commercial, it is very unappealing to commercial space tenants. There is no front road exposure to the commercial side of the property. Therefore, it is not a desirable location to commercial tenants. Another negative impact on this property is the driveway is very long and narrow. This makes it very difficult for traffic when cars are trying to enter or exit the property. The bakery is located directly next door to me, and that already has a lot of traffic in and out of their parking lot. So having another business in my property would only negatively impact traffic on Portland Avenue. If it was used instead as a two-family unit, the traffic in and out would be less than if there were a business there. I feel that there would be no negative impact on this property if it was rezoned as a two-family dwelling. It would not negatively affect or alter the exterior appearance, traffic pattern, or interior appearance of the property. There are 4 parking spaces in the back, which is sufficient for a two-family dwelling. There is also a private oriental garden for the tenants to enjoy. This house was originally built as a single-family home. In the 80s, the owner put on a 1,200 square foot addition to use as commercial space. That is what divided the house into 2 separate units. All of this was approved by the town of Arundecoit. When the owners changed hands over the years, so did the use of the property. I am here because I want to make this a legal two-family dwelling, not only as a return on my investment, but to improve the marketability and get the highest and best use of this property. I've been a resident of the town of Arundecoit for many years, and I like doing projects and making improvements in my own town. I have already done several projects and to do my best to make an improvement in the community and thoroughly screen my tenants.
Okay, and at this time, I would like to add some exhibits, new exhibits that we have not presented them before to the
Okay.
town. This is the aerial map that shows where the property is located, the two-family next to me, the bakery, and the funeral home. In addition, there is a map, zoning map, showing the division, how the property is divided to the commercial and residential. Also, there is a survey map showing the addition, where the property was added, where the addition was added, showing a driveway, the parking, and the green space. Here, okay, tell me. Also, I have 1726 Portland Avenue and 1736 Portland Avenue approval that shows that those properties were single-family residents and they were converted to a two-family, legal two-family dwellings by the town. And I have the Craigslist posting that since when I purchased the property back in April, I tried to rent this property as it is conditioned, and there was one of the questions before that I didn't have it on me. And there has the dates when it was posted, and also there is a statement for the real estate agent who tried to rent this as a commercial with no, was not successful. And also there is an operating income statement that I showed before, and additional pictures that shows the subject, my house, and all the surrounding houses.
Okay. If you can hand those down and pass them around?
And then if the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Yes. And looking over the documentation of the financial part of this thing, it's on page 2. No, that's not the page, I'm sorry, wait a second. It was the one that, yes, it has to do with the rent.
Okay.
It says, it looks to me like there's the one unit, which is probably the front of the house, is rented.
Yes, for 1,100.
Yes. And that, but you want to do about the same thing with the other unit?
Yes, I do.
For the same amount.
Yes, I do.
My
Maybe it
question-
would be a little bit less than if it's a little bit smaller.
Okay, it's a little smaller, but I go by it every day, several times. And it seems to me that the person renting the back part would have, number one, no front door, no
There is-
porch, no windows on either side, except maybe one upstairs.
No,
Somewhere.
there is,
I didn't see
I
hardly
show
any
you,
windows.
I have a layout of the units that has the windows and the doors.
There's a side door
Here.
that goes,
There is a side door to entrance the property, and there's a back door to exit. There are two entrances to the property in the back.
windows across the back.
Oh, so there is a side door, is that right
Yeah.
off the driveway side?
Yes, there
There's
is
two side doors, one that goes to the front unit and then one that goes to the back unit.
And
So
there's a big
two
window.
entrances for both apartments.
and also I had some pictures too that I showed to the board previously. I have it.
You just give me one picture.
No, not that one.
I guess my question is, the person that lives in the back would be concerned, I think, about the difference between the two units. The front unit looks quite nice. You have the porch, you have
It
visibility
doesn't,
and
for
all
the
that.
rental property, it has no appearance if they have a porch or if they don't have a porch. There is a nice access to the back of the property that you enter. There's a nice foyer there, and there's a plenty of room in the back.
And they could
There's
make
a
the
drive-
garden. The garden could be fixed up in the back too, so they would have that.
There has a nice privacy
Which-
to entrance.
Personally, I would rather have a garden in the back than sitting on a porch and watching the main traffic on Portland Avenue and East Ridge Road.
That's a personal preference, I know. Did you know there was a fire truck out there tonight?
There's probably a fire truck there every night.
We
No,
have a
I
traffic-
live down the street, I know exactly what goes on there.
Yeah.
Now, the truck was, I'm not sure which house it was at. There was one there at about 5:15 this afternoon.
I was at work.
But
You didn't see anything?
I can't believe that somebody living in the back of a house would be just as happy as somebody living in the front of the house. And my question only has to do with the rent type of thing, because the numbers are important as far as showing the economic
Hardship.
return, the rate of return, that type of thing. That's the one question I had. And And since neither one of you live in the house, it's just going to be strictly rental, right?
My daughter has intention to live there.
I have the intention of living there,
You do?
because I currently live with her at the residence, so I was debating about moving into the back if all this panned out.
Personally, to me, that makes all the difference in the world.
Okay.
It really does, especially when it comes to multi-family dwelling.
Well, me and my boyfriend were planning on moving in there together if all of this worked out.
I'm glad I asked that question then. It does, it makes a big
I don't
difference.
think that would
It's
even
all,
matter.
I had the opportunity to
Inspect-
scare Ms. Gorniak half to death one night when I stopped by and knocked on the door, and she was right there. And it's very well done inside.
Yes.
And my understanding was that that back portion was added on and used as a photographer
Yes, it was in the
studio,
past,
right?
yes.
And I know the photographer who lived there. And my understanding of her business was that most of her business, actual photography, was done off premises. She would go to the clients to take the pictures. A lot of them were, institutional directory photographs and things like that. So really, she didn't use the studio much at all. But for her, that worked out because she was attracting the business to her as opposed to the location. And the concern with having it in the back with the commercial part is that you can't really
We're
expect
unable to
people.
rent it. Yeah, we
It's
tried.
very, very challenging to get in and out of that driveway. So for that to be a business, I think it would be near impossible to do the traffic.
Plus, there'd have to be some kind of signage out in front
Yes.
that would alert
Right.
people
And
to
the
the
neighbors
fact.
next door tend to park their cars half on this driveway, half on their driveway, so it leaves it not a lot of room to maneuver. So for a business, it'd be very inconvenient.
Are the houses next door, the two gray houses, are they empty right now, or are they?
No.
No, they have tenants, lots of them.
That's 1726
1726.
and 1736. And those are listed for sale as commercial property, right? Aren't there the huge signs up in front of those?
Yeah, I have a commercial, but I don't think they are renting there as a commercial anymore. They have tried, but they verified the zoning and they are zoned as a single, there's a two multifamily, but it's not a commercial. I guess the division line, it doesn't go to their property completely, or there's,
It probably shows on that survey, the
on the
zoning
big
map.
zoning
Yeah.
map, it shows.
And the board got that last meeting too, just a little bit. It's on those two parcels. So I wouldn't call them commercial.
And part of what, in addition to photographs and the zoning map, also what was submitted on January 9th of 1984, this board approved the maintenance of two-family dwelling on, at 1726.
which is
And then
next
on the
door.
same night, we approved, well, not us, but this board approved a two-family dwelling at 1736, subject to planning board approval of the re-subdivision, which must have taken place, obviously. So, in the past, to the adjoining properties, our predecessors had allowed a two-family dwelling there as well.
If I can add something, I really rehabbed few houses here in the town of Rundequoit, and I have redone, some of them I kept, some of them unsold. The ones that I have, I never had any problems with the tenant, they're always very well maintained. I can give you the addresses, you can go and buy, nobody ever called the town complaining about anything, so. I think it's just the management, how you manage your property,
Well, and that's it,
and the quality that you do, that's why you screen and get the better tenants.
right, and the hesitancy that we've had in the past, and one of the things that we're aware of, is that once an application like this is approved, then it runs in
I understand.
perpetuity.
Right.
And while we have every confidence that the people in front of us generally are maintaining their properties well and taking good care of them, we have no assurance of what will happen when it changes hands. Of course, that's also true of any neighborhood and any home, even an owner-occupied home. There's
Exactly.
plenty of examples in town of
Sure.
owner-occupied homes that could use some attention.
And the other thing is, I really don't have a reason to sell this property. I really wanted to keep it and rent it as long as I can. So I have no intention at this time to sell it.
And you got a prospective tenant
I do have a
Standing
prospective
right next to you.
standing next to you.
Who intends on taking the property from her at some point?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Not really, though.
Down the line. She's not going to give it up.
I like to say that the living there has a lot to do with it. There are a lot of properties in Arundecoit that have been rented, that have been let run down. And it's a concern, because when a property gets run down, the value of it, and I know for a fact that they'll come back and apply for a lower tax rate and all that because the property is worth less, and that affects the whole neighborhood. And as this rental thing keeps spreading, this kind of devaluation of property keeps spreading, to the point that there will be, in the near future, the formation of a citizens committee to study rental property in our town, to see what percentage of our town is rented now, and should there be a limit on that? Should there be more guidelines for owners, so that, like you were saying, it's a management thing. It makes a big difference, that there should be guidelines and that type of thing for people who rent their property. Because one of the big dangers of this town is if you have a house, you don't sell it, you rent it, and you move to Fort Lauderdale, maybe have somebody look in on it once in a while, that's not good for the town.
But that's not only in the
Ownership
town
is
of
much better.
Arundecoit, it's everywhere like that.
Well, that's right, but that does not make it more palatable to a resident like myself, who has great pride in this town, and certainly wants to see our home values maintained and go up like everybody else. And I don't really care what other towns do, because they have to deal with the same kind of a problem. It does not make it any easier to accept. What makes it easier to accept is when it's well-managed, like you said, and even more when there's ownership involved, or, there's a closeness to attachment to it, that makes it even better. Because it sort of guarantees in a neighborhood that it's going to be cared for. And I think that's the big issue. So we'll be keeping an eye on things, and I'm not sure when this committee is going to form. Now that I've said that, it'll probably be probably coming up soon, because it is a concern. And it's not that we're going to condemn everything. I mean, I can tell by the expression on your face that this is going to be a...
It doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I am forward, believe me. I don't want to see the town that's being run down. So far, I bought the houses that were run down, and I remodeled and kept
Turned
them
them
or
around.
sold them.
And I really
Oh,
think that you're
that's
probably
the-
the exception. That's great to hear, and I support that.
And I own the business in the town of Arundecoit too, so I'm trying, wherever I do, I try to do it within this town.
Yeah.
And I think that
I hope everybody's paying attention to that, because that's good to hear. It really is good to hear. I'll keep quiet now, sir.
We're here to have an exchange, so that's fine. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone here who wishes to address the application from any perspective? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing, and we will take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Thank you. are still present. So we will take the cases in the order that they appear on the agenda to deliberate. All right, with respect to the first application pertaining to the property at 498 Pert Avenue, this is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this property or this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application for the antenna with the following findings, that, I don't have my sheet tonight, so I'll do it from my memory. I don't believe it'll change the character of the neighborhood, because the item that's being used is going to be conscientiously obscured by natural foliage. I don't think there's an alternative to what she's asking for, because she tried, and the experts came in and they just couldn't help her out with that, so that she only has this one choice, which, understanding, may not work, but at least she's giving it her best shot. I think that deserves some credit. There is no physical or environmental conditions affected by this in the neighborhood, and is it self-created? Only from the standpoint that she wants to watch TV that she can afford. So that's a good enough reason for me. Thanks, Joe.
Any discussion?
I would like to add the fact that there are exceptions to our rules. This is not typically one I would normally go along with, because I don't believe a dish should be allowed in the front yard. However, she had, I believe, 4 or 5 letters of neighbors that lived around her that all were okay with the fact that the dish is out there. Again, that's why we're here, to make exceptions to our rules. And as long as the neighbors are okay with it, I will support it. Also, the fact that she is going to try to camouflage it with some shrubbery around it will help it quite a bit. But I don't want that to become a rule that the satellite dish companies just put dishes in the front yards. I don't think we want that as a town.
Several years ago, we had a case where they hadn't tried it. They just put it in the spot that was most convenient for them, and we did not approve it. And when I went by a few weeks later, I saw that the dish had been relocated onto the roof, and there was never a complaint, so it seemed to be working fine. And I don't know if it seems to me that when you have somebody, whether it's a fence company or a satellite dish company or a company that's doing this kind of installation work in a town, it seems to me it ought to be incumbent on them to make the homeowner aware. They know what the town requirements are, or they should.
Unfortunately, they don't look at it that way.
Right.
They just want to sell a dish and move on.
That's true.
And
But-
it is the owner's obligation, but
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no members of the board are absent. We do have 1 vacant position. Next item on the agenda would be the applications with respect to 1720 Portland Avenue. There's 2 applications that are before us. One is for a use variance, and the other is for an area variance. The area variance portion of it is for what?
Because if you look at what's required for our lot size.
Square footage.
For the lot size, right, it's a little bit more. So, for example, it's 100 feet wide by 120 depth and 1,200 square feet. So she was being very,
So the area variance becomes relevant if the use variance is approved. If the use variance isn't approved, the area variance becomes moot. So we'll take the use variance first. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. I would make a motion that we approve the use variance with the following findings. Approval of the use variance will not change the character of the neighborhood, the immediate neighborhood. This property is situated just north of a bakery, just east of a funeral home, and south of two multifamily dwellings, and west of commercial property. The alternatives that wouldn't require a variance would be that it would be required to be used in a commercial manner, and the applicant has indicated, provided evidence of efforts to have it used in a commercial manner, and those were not successful. And the layout of the lot, with the difficulty of accessing the rear, the lack of any exposure to the street, would make it difficult for a commercial business to be identified in that location by passing motorists, and would even make it difficult to find for people who knew that it was there. It is not a substantial request. The applicant has demonstrated that there is no reasonable return on the investment she has provided, as we've indicated in the past, is necessary for a use variance. She's provided dollars and cents proof showing that, as currently zoned, she is losing money every month on the property. Being able to rent the second portion of the property will enable her to realize a reasonable return on her investment. As noted earlier, because of its location and the surrounding, and the fact that the boundary line between the two zoning districts comes right through the middle of the structure, it is a unique circumstance. It's not going to change the character of the neighborhood, and an argument, I suppose, could be made that it's self-created because it was that way when she purchased the property, but on the other hand, she didn't create the zoning map and have the boundary line come through the property, and she did not create the unique situation of the structure on the lot and the access and the exposure to the street.
I'll second it.
I just want to add, if Mr. Chairman, if you already mentioned it, I apologize, but there was also a communication from a Realtor saying that it can't be it's difficult to rent currently as a commercial, and it needs to be zoned
That is true.
residential.
All right. Any other discussion?
Just a comment. I think it's worth noting that the applicant has invested a lot of money into this house. I think it's $35,000 with some more to come, over and above what they spent to buy the home. And I think if all of our two-family homes were making that kind of investment, we'd be in much better shape. And I think that's a real compliment to see that kind of investment made in the home. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, or any abstentions? Motion carries, 6 votes in favor. No, none opposed, no abstentions, no members are absent. We do continue to have one vacancy on the board. Next application would be the area variance relating to the same property. This would be to allow two-family structure on less than the required lot size. And this also is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the area variance for the similar reasons that we approve the use variance. The change in the neighborhood is, the character of the neighborhood is not evident because it is surrounded by two-family homes and also a bakery and a funeral home, so it's will not be a deterrent. The alternative solution is not to do it, but it's not easily rented, and we've gone through that reasoning. The variance is not substantial. Even though there is a square footage difference, there are definitely two-family buildings that have less lot size than this particular applicant. And it is not an adverse effect. It has no adverse effect on the physical or environmental. The parking situation that was there before is the same. It is a self-created issue. Well, it is not a self-created issue because she bought it and it was already like that. And again, it being used for a commercial office versus being used for somebody to live there, it is not, in my opinion, relevant. And she did try to rent it as a commercial property / home. In the event she didn't get it done, I think we should allow this variance.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no absences. We continue to have a vacancy on the board. I believe that concludes the items on our agenda, and we are therefore adjourned.